Welcome to Word of Salvation, your channel for diving into the mysteries, traditions, and significant events of the Catholic Church. Subscribe now so you don't miss any special content about the faith, and share this video so more people can discover the richness of our Church. The Vatican is the beating heart of the Catholic Church. It is here that the world witnesses one of the most sacred and solemn rites of Catholic tradition, the selection of a new pope. When the pontiff passes away or announces his resignation, the process to elect his successor begins. This is a profoundly spiritual journey, filled with history, tradition, reverence, and secrecy. The election of a new pope is a time marked by hope, faith, and expectation. The Church moves forward under the leadership of its new shepherd, remaining steadfast in its mission to evangelize, proclaim the gospel, and serve as an instrument of God's action in the world, always centered on the saving mission of Jesus Christ. This papal transition is a moment of enormous importance not only for the Church but for all humanity. So, what typically occurs when a pope dies or resigns? What can we expect in the days following the announcement? When the Holy Father passes away, the Church enters a period of mourning that lasts 9 days. The first day is the day of the Pope's death, and the funeral, which is already being organized, usually takes place between the 4th and 6th day after his passing. We all learn about the Pope's death through the news and social media, but many important events happen behind the scenes, steeped in tradition. One of the central figures at this time is the Camerlengo, currently Cardinal Farrell, an American who previously served as auxiliary bishop in Washington and Dallas before moving to Rome. In the Middle Ages, the Pope had a priest responsible for his household, who would greet the pontiff each morning and sometimes would be the one to find him deceased. An ancient tradition said that, upon suspecting the Pope's death, the Camerlengo would enter with a small silver hammer, gently tap the pontiff's forehead and call his name. If there was no response, he would officially announce the death. Today this procedure is performed by doctors, but it is still the Camerlengo's duty to officially communicate the death, inform the Secretary of State and the Dean of the College of Cardinals. The news then spreads through the Vatican press service, and the bells of St. Peter's Basilica ring, signaling mourning, a gesture repeated in churches worldwide. When John Paul II died, the shutters of the Apostolic Palace were closed, symbolizing the absence of the shepherd. This solemn act marks the beginning of preparations for the funeral, the arrival of cardinals in Rome, the days of mourning, and finally, the conclave. During the vacancy of the see, important church decisions are put on hold, such as the appointment of new bishops, something that affects dioceses around the world. These decisions depend on the Pope and, without him, are suspended. Locally, parishes continue to function normally, but major global decisions are interrupted, as the Holy Father's leadership is essential for guiding the Church. In the following days, the Pope's funeral takes place, a deeply solemn rite. Pope Francis has even simplified some of these rites in recent times. The body is placed in a coffin similar to those of his predecessors and remains on display as the faithful pass through St. Peter's Square. One of the most significant moments of the funeral is the destruction of the Fisherman's ring, a symbol of papal authority, which was used to seal official documents. This act, usually performed only in the presence of the College of Cardinals, represents the end of the pontificate. We recall the striking scene at John Paul II's funeral, with the coffin and the open book of the Gospels, its pages turning in the wind, bearing witness to his life. Normally, popes are buried in the Vatican, but Francis has requested to be buried in the Basilica of St. Mary Major in Rome, due to his devotion to Our Lady. These are days of true mourning for the Church as we lose our shepherd. The resignation of a pope, as Benedict XVI did, surprised many, since such an event had not occurred for centuries. The reasons may vary, but Benedict XVI, having witnessed the suffering of John Paul II in his final years, reflected on the challenges of a pontificate prolonged by modern medicine. Feeling his limitations, he chose to resign, something permitted but rare. Unlike bishops who submit resignation letters at age 75, the Pope answers only to God and personally decides when to step down. The College of Cardinals plays a central role in this process. They are, in essence, the honorary clergy of the Diocese of Rome, with the primary function of electing the new pope. Historically, cardinals were priests and deacons of Rome who elected the city's bishop, that is, the pope. Over time, this title became honorary, but the mission of electing the pontiff remains. The composition of the college has changed significantly in recent decades. Previously, about half of the cardinals were Italian. Today, with Francis's vision of making the Church more universal, there are cardinals from every continent, including missionary dioceses, reflecting the global diversity of Catholicism. Before the conclave, there is the interregnum period with meetings called general congregations. In these, practical matters are resolved, accommodations, instructions about the electoral process, and discussions about the Church's challenges and needs. It is a time of reflection and encounters, and often when possible papal candidates stand out. As the college becomes increasingly international, these days are important for cardinals from different parts of the world to get to know each other better. The conclave, the decisive moment of the papal election, brings together all cardinals under 80 years old. Although the limit is 120 electors, this number is often exceeded. The conclave begins 15 days after the Pope's death, with a solemn Mass in St. Peter's Basilica. After Mass, the cardinals go to the Pauline Chapel for prayer and then enter the Sistine Chapel, where the secret vote takes place. The secrecy of the conclave is absolute, to prevent political pressures and ensure the cardinals' freedom of discernment. The term conclave means with key, as the cardinals are locked in until the election. This tradition began after a conclave lasted 3 years due to external interference. Today, electronic devices and a special floor reinforce confidentiality. Anyone who breaks the secrecy is excommunicated. On the first day there may be a vote. After that, there are 4 votes per day. Each cardinal writes the chosen name, deposits the ballot, and 3 randomly selected cardinals count the votes. If no one reaches 2/3, the ballots are burned with a substance that produces black smoke. When a candidate is elected, the smoke is white and the bells ring, announcing the new pope to the world. The Holy Spirit is invoked throughout the process. More than an election, it is a spiritual discernment, seeking God's will for the Church. Prayers are offered that the cardinals be open to the Spirit's action, attentive to what God desires for the Church's future. Modern conclaves usually last 2 to 3 days, rarely more. As soon as the Pope is elected, he is taken to the Room of Tears, where he wears the white cassock for the first time and receives the obedience of the cardinals. Then he is presented to the world on the central balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, where he gives his first speech and the apostolic blessing. The choice of the Pope is a moment of great joy, ending the emptiness of the mourning period. The announcement is made beneath the image of Jesus giving the keys to Peter, symbolizing the continuity of the apostolic mission. The new Pope, often moved, addresses the people as Francis did when he asked for prayers before blessing the crowd. The white of the papal vestments, a tradition since Pius V, symbolizes purity, innocence, and the connection with Christ. The Pope also receives the pallium, symbolizing the shepherd who carries the sheep, and the fisherman's ring, a sign of his authority and mission as Peter's successor. The inauguration Mass of the pontificate takes place about a week after the election, bringing together cardinals and faithful in St. Peter's Square. It is a moment of celebration and the official beginning of the Petrine ministry, when the new Pope presents his vision for the Church. St. Peter's Square, with its grandeur and welcoming architecture, is the stage for these great events. Thousands gather to celebrate, hear the announcement, and participate in the living history of the Church. The election of a new Pope is of interest not only to Catholics. The whole world watches, fascinated by the mystery, tradition, and moral and diplomatic importance of the pontiff. The Pope is seen as a voice of unity, charity, and leadership, not only for Catholics but for all humanity. If you enjoyed this content and want to keep learning about the mysteries and traditions of the Church, subscribe to Word of Salvation, leave your like and share this video. Comment below, what impresses you most about the process of choosing a new Pope? May God bless your journey and see you in the next video.